Hello everyone and welcome to the finals for the EGFH Season 1 in Rocket League. Today we are live from Yukon with the finals between the Woodstock Academy Centaurs and the Cavan Panthers. Whoever wins will be the EGFH Season 1 Rocket League champions. I want to thank our sponsors, the Yukon Gaming Club, the Yukon School of Engineering, HyperX, and of course, Controller Chaos for making this season possible. Be sure to check out the links below or type !sponsors in the chat. Now, to get to this game, my name is Cavan, Navac, Dignan, and for this series, I'm joined by Nick, Vodible, and Ambrozic.
How's it going?
I'm doing well. You know, I think we should, introduce the teams here. On the blue side, of course, we have the KT Panthers.
And then on the red side, we have the Woodstock Academy Centaurs.
And yeah, let's get into this game now just a little bit. And they've been playing for about a minute now. No goals have happened. Just kind of going back and forth. What do you think is going to come out from this game with the goal going straight in there?
Well, what we just saw, I think, is going to come out from this game. A lot of goals on the side of the Centaurs. We've seen them face against the Panthers 2 times now, and they've 3-0'd them in a best-of-5 series. This is a best-of-7 now. So I think it's probably going to be maybe a 4-0. Hopefully we get a more competitive matchup, though, between these two.
Yeah, I do think that the Cavan Panthers here can take a few games. It's been getting closer every single time, but it might be a bit more interesting seeing N64 there instead of Young Barcode. So maybe that helps them, maybe it doesn't. Crazy MS taking a lovely shot into the top left corner there, but they aren't going to be able to find it. And yeah, just nice little bit of aerial there. Eclipse trying to deny it, and he did manage to get the ball just into the direction of the Centaurs. There we go. And 64 Master looking like that might almost be an own goal saved by Scorch Blaze. That was an interesting one. Bowserbar trying to set it up. Dan being a little bit too slow on that Nitro, I'd say, not being able to find it, but he isn't going to stop there with a lovely little aerial tap. It lets Bowserbar set up a perfectly empty goal, but he doesn't. He just doesn't find the connection with the ball.
Barely missing on that shot as well. Bowserbar really stepped up in the semifinals and showcased his skill, which was kind of dormant in the first half of the season, but now, oh my goodness, Dan proving why he is an MVP candidate, getting that shot, reading it off the wall.
Yeah, I mean that was the Dan show practically there. Crazy MS looked like he wanted to follow up on it, but he just let the man have it. And now we're 2-0 to the Woodstock Academy Centaurs. So we need to see the Cavan Panthers trying to get a few goals in here, maybe put a bit more pressure in. And N64 Master does manage to try as much as he can, but he isn't going to be able to stop it with both Bowserbar and Dan going for it. Crazy MS going for some interesting setups, and Dan is able to find it after that interception coming out from Eclipse.
So dangerous when the Centaurs are on the side of the Panthers, because you never know what they're going to do. They might go for a setup, they might just try to demo their opponents, but Scorched Blaze knows what he's going to do as he's trying to just set things up for his teammates. Unfortunately, he was being contested by the Centaurs, and that just shows how great the defense is for the Centaurs, even though they have such powerful offense.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true, and he did try his best there, but N64 Master wasn't able to find the follow-up. Another very close goal, but I don't think it's over here. I think the Centaurs are going to keep putting on as much pressure as they can.
That's all they really need to do. If they can keep up the pressure and shut down any opportunities that the Panthers have, they'll be able to just extinguish the flames that they have from Scorch Blaze, trying to get some shots onto the other end. And so far they've just been stuck in their side. They only had that one drive down the pitch, and it still didn't really pay off for them.
Yeah, but what we are seeing from the last time that I saw the Panthers is their defense seems to have improved quite a bit. They're not leaving the goal as open as they were. And maybe we're seeing a bit too much of a commitment going towards blocking that ball with all 3 of them going in and not letting anybody set up or follow up with it. But I mean, I think it's better to save a goal than give them another.
Yeah, they don't want to get that big of a deficit ahead of themselves in this first game, because if they're down by 3 or 4 goals, it's even harder to come back from, especially the mental game going into that kind of deficit, and it's leading to these kind of mistakes. Saw both of them commit on that opportunity for the save, and instead neither of them got a connection with it. Actually, we saw N64 Master set that up, basically passing it to Crazy MS, and there was no chance to get the save after it.
Yeah, it definitely was unfortunate. And now with a 3-goal deficit for the Panthers, that's not a 4-goal deficit with a lovely kickoff coming from Bowserbar there. That's just very unfortunate. Scorchblaze, I believe, was heading towards the... Yeah, he was looking to try and get that Nitro there, and he just left the goal open. That was an unfortunate call. I guess he didn't think the ball was going to come straight towards the goal that quickly.
It's basically all you can really say about that. That was very unfortunate, but it's also due to the positioning that they had off the kickoff. They didn't really have anyone staying back in their net, which they can't really afford to leave it open to this caliber of a team, and that's kind of what we saw with that goal happen off the kickoff. But they managed to hold off this one. It doesn't look like the... Oh my goodness, almost save there, but yeah.
Find it. You know, that was a lovely little dribble. He kind of kicked it into the air there, set it off for Bowserbar. Bowserbar didn't find it, but Dan just managing to like thread it through the needle there and recovered for his team.
Dan was the man with the plan, and he stuck to it and got that goal.
Yeah, with the plan B and the plan C, and it happened.
Always have to have a bunch of different plans. Oh my goodness.
With 43 seconds, it looks like the first game is going to be going to the Centaurs. I don't see how they could come back from this.
At this point, you just got to call it over. And if you're the Panther, you got to be thinking, okay, what can we improve on going into the next game? This is going to be a battle. It's going to be a war for them to try and win this best-of-7 series because they've struggled so much against the Centaurs. I feel like the biggest accomplishment they can go for against this caliber of a team is to at least get one game win against them. They haven't even managed to secure that against them. They got 3-0 twice. So if they can at least do that, they might be able to use that momentum into other games after that and maybe end up with the win.
Yeah, we haven't seen how the Centaurs react to actually losing a match, as throughout the season, I don't believe they've lost a single set or even a game within a set.
I think they've lost like maybe 1 or 2. They did it in the semifinals against Manchester, which was very interesting to see how that team actually came out to play, but they've definitely been very dominant against any of the teams they've faced.
They definitely have. And Scorchblaze trying to just find something, right? Trying to get it past anybody. Even though the Panthers know right now that it's kind of downtime and that they're not going to recover, they should be using this time, in my opinion, to try, you know, get their mentality back. If they are feeling a bit demoralized, just use this to take a breath and then try and improve for that next round.
Yeah, as long as they were able to prevent a goal there and spent a length of time, I think it was like 30 seconds or so, then, you know, maybe they'll be able to use that going into the next game, and we'll see in that one if they can just like come back, shut it down defensively, work on some of their mistakes, and maybe improve going into that next one.
Yep, I definitely think that is going to be the case, and it shouldn't take very long now for us to just get into that next match. And I think, like you were saying, we just need to see. I feel like the Panthers have been a team that once they get a goal, they become a lot more confident, but until that happens, they're kind of timid. And I
that's the biggest issue from them. Like, if they can't get that goal, they need to hold on to that momentum and go into further drives even stronger. But we're going to take a quick break before we get back into this next game, so we'll be right back.
And we're coming back into this next game within the finals for the entire season. And it's interesting watching the Panthers play without Young Barcode, right? Because Young Barcode has kind of been the... I'd say the backbone. Wow! Scorchblaze finding that goal there. This could be... This could be the confidence booster that they need going off that last game.
I've always been looking out for Scorchblaze to kind of step up to the plate in the place of Young Barcode as well, because he's always had that kind of potential, but now it's really coming to the light and showing us what he can do in these grand finals, getting that first goal. And as we mentioned in the last one, that's going to be huge for them going into the next few minutes of the second game.
Yeah, like we were saying, their confidence always seems to improve as soon as they get that first goal and they become almost an entirely different team. But we're going to see if that's going to be the case once again. With all three of them pushing forward there, they do find a pick. Balzabar managing to knock the ball just off of its trajectory there, and they're not going to be able to find a nice free goal there.
There's a little bit of a mix-up on the side of the Panthers there as well. We saw N64 Master kind of bumping into his teammates a few times. Maybe it was just a little bit off of the communication there, but oh my goodness, Eclipse almost getting that shot
as well. Like this is what we want to see. And yeah, like you were saying about N64, N64 hasn't played with them at all for the season because unfortunately Young Barcode wasn't able to make it to the LAN. So it's got to be odd for them as well, as they've been playing the entire season as a unit and now they have somebody else playing for them.
Yeah, you kind of don't have that chemistry that you're used to, but with this opportunity, N64 Master is able to capitalize on it. Oh my goodness, stepping up to the plate, huge as the sub for the team.
Seeing 2 goals ahead of the Centaurs here. This is exactly what the Panthers needed. This is what we were having a bit of a chat before we started the stream in these games, and we were having a chat and we wanted to see this happen, right?
Exactly. We wanted to see the Panthers step up big in place of Young Barcode, show us what they can do without having their MVP candidate to carry them to victory. And so far, it's been great. They've improved on the defensive end, shut down a lot of these opportunities. We haven't even seen a single shot from the Centaurs. This is unheard of.
Yeah, they've completely managed to shut down the Centaurs for the first half of this game, but I don't think that's going to last for long. They're not a team to be put down for very long when they are. So we'll see if they can come back or if they've actually managed to find some chinks in the armor.
Knowing the Centaurs, I definitely think that is possible for them to break past any of the mistakes they've been making and the defense of the Panthers. But if the Panthers somehow manage to hold on, it'll be huge. Tie up the series against the Centaurs, that is a very tall task, and it'll be huge for them going forward in this best of 7 if they can accomplish it.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, my prediction, whilst we were talking on the pre-show for this set, I thought that maybe it could go 4-3 if the Panthers played well enough, and we might see the beginning of this, and we might go the full 7 games.
But crazy MS with those 2 demos, trying to set up his teammate, and he does just that. Passes it to Balzabar, Balzabar to Dan, the 3-man strike onto that goal, taking out the competition and getting back within 1.
Can you really blame N64 Master there for not entirely knowing what to do when being rushed by all 3 of the Centaurs with both of his teammates being demolished?
I mean, if I was getting rushed by the Centaurs, I would be frightened as well.
They are a scary team. But let's hope this doesn't get the Panthers down, right? It's 1 goal, they're still ahead. Balzabar's looking for a pick there, and Scorched Blaze is able to save it, just knocking the ball out of the way, because if that was a miss there, then that would have been 2-2.
Oh, what a block by Eclipse as well. Oh no, N64 Master, please. Just gotta get in that rotation. Just work out that, and then, you know, they won't make as many mistakes defensively, because I feel like that was what their crux was in the first game, is that they all committed on the defensive end and on the offensive end. So this time they've spread out a lot more, and it's definitely worked out. Yeah,
no, it has definitely worked out for them, as we can see from the score. And all they really need to do now is play defensively, right? They're a goal ahead. There's 1:30 on the clock. If they just don't let the Centaurs get another goal, then they've taken the round.
Ooh, but with that commitment right there from N64 and Eclipse, that was very risky to send both of them up, especially when they didn't have too good of a chance there. But they still are managing to hold off for now, and there's only 1:08 remaining. This is the best any team has looked against the Centaurs, because we've seen them come back from bigger deficits than this one. Oh, and I just jinxed it.
Just as you hear the air horn for that last minute, Dan manages to come in with that just perfectly set up as Eclipse misses it, and he evens out the score. So now we could be seeing overtime.
That's a potential for that is possible in this game, as Eclipse, he was doing very well in defense and got 2 saves for himself, really stepped up to the plate. But if you're being faced off against the Centaurs, Dan, Crazy MS, and Balzabar with their setups off the backboard and the walls, it's very hard to kind of overcome that. And with one miss, that'll lead to those kind of goals happening.
But they have done an incredible job so far, managing to fend off all of those setups. Other than the one that just occurred. And that was looking close to another own goal, or the first own goal this season. But we've seen a couple own goals coming out from the Panthers throughout the season. So maybe we don't want to repeat history.
Yeah, you don't want to repeat an own goal history because that's the worst kind of history to have in a Rocket League. Especially when it's timely. But no, it's going towards that.
3 seconds on the clock. If the Panthers now somehow score off kickoff, then it's possible we go into overtime. But it does look like the Centaurs on the last 3 seconds managed to take the second round.
That was way too risky from the Panthers. They shouldn't have committed 2 people in that corner, just left one back. Eclipse should have been back there instead, but he managed to pinch the ball with, I think it was Dan, who was going for the shot there, and it went all the way booming past him into net. Very unfortunate, but it could have been avoided, and that led to that final goal happening, and Dan getting a hat-trick for himself, really showing why he is one of the best players on that team.
Yeah, no, definitely. And you need to remember with Dan, though, it's not only Dan. Crazy MS and Balzabar spent that whole game setting him up to find or attempt goals that they missed or was deflected, and then Dan was there to follow it up the whole time. So I think that just speaks for his positioning.
His positioning's been great. He's the main striker for this team, and the roles that Crazy MS and Balzabar filled are perfect for that squad. But we're going to take a quick break before we get into the third game of this best of 7 series. Currently 2-0 for the Centaurs.
And we're coming back into the third game with 2 of this best of 7 set going towards the Centaurs. And it was a very close game last game. Like, I'm still kind of rooting for the Panthers to take a few rounds.
It's possible, especially from the caliber of play they showcased in that second game. Bring it down to the wire in the final few seconds. Had the lead for the majority of it too. It's just so difficult to hold on to that against the Centaurs. And we already see an opportunity for a shot there.
Yeah, and it's got to be a completely mental changing game, right? To go from 0-7 in the first game to go to 2-3 and almost taking it into overtime. They've got to be feeling, even though they lost the round, they've got to be feeling good about that.
Ooh, and that's very risky. They had 3 players up towards the net, but it was pretty much open. Nobody was on the defensive line, but they still couldn't manage to get possession and get it past them. So maybe if they're able to just break past one of the defenders, go for maybe a setup of some kind, they could secure the first goal.
Scorch Blaze and Eclipse there, both just trying to push it up with nobody left on the goal, though. Balzabar's going to be able to find that, and that's going to be the first goal. 1 minute, 5 seconds into the third round, going to the Centaurs. Again, too aggressive.
Yeah, Eclipse and Scorch Blaze both pushed up there, leaving N64, who arguably doesn't have the strongest defense on the team. It would have been better for Eclipse to kind of stay back and send N64 and Scorch Blaze up. But instead, they tried to change things up, but you don't want to change up the formula that worked for you in the second game.
No, you don't at all, because it worked for you when the last one clearly didn't. So they gotta keep that pattern going. They've got to have Eclipse in the goal on defense. He was playing phenomenally. He was managing to stop things that, I would be intimidated to try and stop. So it's good stuff. And it was definitely an interesting choice to put N64 in that defensive position again. Dan being
N64, he's still got a crazy touch there to knock it away from their net. Oh no, Eclipse, the miscommunication. N64 could have gotten the shot on net there too, but okay. That was risky.
Yeah, it was risky. They could have been punished. The Scorch Blaze was in net. There was somebody in net. All 3 of them weren't pushed up. Maybe they've realized they were being a bit too aggressive.
No.
But that was just unfortunate with Dan finding another goal here. And this was nice. The manipulation of the ball in the air, just a couple touches here, get it down into that bottom left corner.
It looked like he was going for a pass as well to Balzabar, but it didn't connect. Didn't matter though, because it went into the net. They didn't know what to do when they were faced with that kind of aerial skill from Dan. And we've seen that a few times from the Centaurs throughout the season, able to pull off some crazy shots. But you got to save shots like that when they go towards your net. If it's just a not really a high-flying shot, it's just going straight at you, it's all about positioning. But Eclipse was just out of position, couldn't get there in time. But that's because Balzabar was pushed up.
Yeah, it was unfortunate for Eclipse there. Maybe if he had chosen to push towards the ball instead of backwards, he might have gotten there in time. But mistakes happen now, hindsight's 2020, and they're down a 3 just to fit goal. So again, it seems to be really close, not so close in the current pattern. So it'll be interesting to see if we see another close game set off into that next round. But they still have 2 minutes and 30 seconds to catch back up. That almost looked like another goal there for a second.
It was a close one.
Yeah. But, you know, it didn't go in, and they are getting the ball closer to the goal. Dan again with the aerial. He misses it, though. Crazy MS just being there in the time, like just at that right moment, and the goal's been left open. If Scorch can't get there in time, Balzabar's going to get a free goal. Manages to save it, though.
And Eclipse coming up big with the clear, getting it out of the way of their side. It's a huge opportunity for them to try and capitalize on those clears and get control of the ball, because right now they're throwing everything they have at the ball, which they should be. They should only be throwing one person so that the other two can kind of like rotate around and get in a better position for whatever situation they face against the Centaurs.
Yeah, exactly. They need to be playing the rotations. That's unfortunate, and I don't know what that came... Who was in goal at that time? Was that N64? No, that was Scorch Blaze. So
Scorch Blaze like rotated there, but he missed the timing.
Yeah, and N64 decided not to commit to trying to save the ball.
I'm guessing there's some miscommunication there as well. Like maybe N64 was saying for his teammate to get it, but instead they just kind of got bumbled up and then didn't go for it. That really shows how crucial the communication is in a lot of these games. Because if you're a good team and have the mechanical ability, we've seen the Panthers pull off some pretty nice stuff in the season. It's just that their positioning's been a little bit off, or maybe the timing, and that's really been crucial for other teams getting the wins against them.
Yeah, I definitely do agree. And Eclipse coming in, trying to get something there, trying to make something off the backboard, but Crazy MS just in the air, definitely being ready to set things up there and save the goal if anything was going to be prepared. And like you were saying about communication, it's interesting because we've seen N64 bump into his teammates a few times whilst they're trying to set up things. And I think, like we were saying, from him being a sub that hasn't played, as far as we're aware, hasn't played with the team as much as Young Barcode had, maybe the chemistry just isn't there.
It does take time to get that chemistry. When you're in the higher ranks, maybe not as long, but in this kind of tournament, when these people have played against each other for weeks, maybe scrimmed against each other, know the patterns, and so it's very difficult for them to overcome that, and however long he had to prepare for this.
Exactly. And with 10 seconds left, it looks like round 3 is going to be going to the Centaurs here. And that will bring it to a 3-0. So I believe if the Centaurs win the next game, they win the set. In fact, they win the championship.
Oh.
So definitely got to be feeling good if you're the Centaurs right now.
You got to be feeling amazing, especially when you face this team in the finals. You take the win in that second game, which was crucial for them because they were down by, I believe, 2 goals. And now coming back, winning 4-0 in this one, coming back in that one, getting the win too. They have essentially 3 lives remaining for themselves in this best-of-7 series. So if they lose those games, then it could go to a game 7, and they will still have the advantage because they've just deteriorated the presence that Panthers have had on the field throughout the series.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those cases. And I think my dream every round is slowly dying at the ideas of Panthers getting a game, but they still have one more chance, right?
They have the potential.
We saw it almost happen in game 2. I I still believe, right? I'm still on the Panthers train to get a match. And we are going to be going into the next game any second now. We had a lot of communication after that game. You know, these are matches to talk about. It's interesting seeing how both teams are performing. So,
yeah.
And now going into this possibly final game, if the Panthers aren't going to be able to find it, with the best of 7 series being a 3-0 at the moment to the Centaurs, we of course we should have a bit about back and forth here. I think talking about the MVP candidates, with Young Barcode not being here, it looks like it's going to be between Dan and Crazy MS. And I'm curious, Vodible, to what you think both players have been doing so far, to why they deserve that MVP title.
Well, I know Crazy MS has been getting a lot of assists for Balzabar and for his teammate, but oh my god, we can get back to that in a moment. Getting the goal, keeping the dream alive for his team, breaking past the double commit from Dan and Crazy MS. Maybe that is what they need to use their advantage. Dan and Crazy MS are going to be competing to try and get the most score and goals and maybe assists in this final game so that they can prove why they deserve that spot. And that might just make it so the Panthers sneak a win in there.
Yeah, if competition stirs within a team internally and it becomes an issue like that, then it definitely might not be a good thing. But maybe they're just very competitive in nature anyway. Throughout the tournament, we've often seen Crazy MS and Den kind of racing for the ball against each other, while Balzabar has sat backwards and just kind of watched and been prepared for any situation that the other team is able to throw at them.
I'd say Dan has the best chance at securing that MVP because of that hat-trick he scored in that second game, getting them that crucial win against the Panthers where they were down by 2. Like that's MVP caliber if it was like written in the dictionary.
Yeah, on the 1 minute and 3 seconds left on the clock, he got both of those goals in, I would say, very crucial times of the match. So yeah, I would definitely agree with that being MVP worthy.
We could see Crazy MS, though, step up in this potentially final game and get them the win. That would give him a huge case for that MVP as well. So still a big competition raging between Dan and Crazy MS, and still a chance for the Panthers to secure at least a win against the Centaurs, because they are still holding on to this one goal.
Yeah. And if they're doing it quite well, Crazy MS is looking for something, but Eclipse is just constantly on him, right? He's not letting him turn left into the ball. He is that close. Oh, this isn't looking good, though, with Eclipse managing to dodge over the ball. Dan's going to get a little rebound there, but nobody's there to follow it up with N64 Master and Eclipse. Again, we see a bump between N64 and Eclipse. It's becoming kind of a frequent thing that's happening, and I don't know if that's because of miscommunication or if they're intentionally doing it to try and set them up.
I think Eclipse did that just to get N64 Master out of his way so he could clear the ball as far away from their end as possible. And he was kind of in his path of destruction, so he had to bump him there. Couldn't really avoid it.
Eclipse, though, is running down the ball straight down the middle with Crazy MS going to be ready there. That looked close. If the boost in the top right corner there was down and Crazy MS didn't have it, then Eclipse might have just ran the ball down the field.
If you notice, Dan tried to run Eclipse out of the field. He was going for a demo for so long. He had him in his sights, but the goal is in the sights of Balzabar as he steps up to the plate to tie it up.
And if you watch the replay here, all 3 of the Centaurs were thirsty for that kill. Look at all 3 of them all trying to use their boost to get that last touch, and Balzabar just doesn't let Dan or Crazy MS have it, giving him the first goal of this set and bringing this to a tie so far. 2 minutes left on the clock. Again, anything's still possible.
Yeah, you saw the assault banner for Balzabar. He was definitely springing that on to both Dan and Crazy MS, so they couldn't get that goal to give themselves better potential for that MVP for the Rocket League season.
Yeah, definitely maybe the mother of the team there, telling them to both quit fighting.
Yeah, quit fighting. We got to get this 4-0. We have some homework to do after this.
And Scorch Blaze is there in the defense. He's going to be able to try and clear the board, but Balzabar follows it up, immediately setting Dan up, but Dan doesn't find it.
That was very risky, too, because they both committed. If there was a good, clear potential from the Panthers, that was it. And instead, they couldn't really capitalize on it. So they got to take advantage of those moments.
Yeah, Dan looking for it again, and Scorch Blaze is just there. Every single time Dan tries to make something happen currently, Scorch Blaze is just stopping him. Eclipse managing to get it past Crazy MS and Dan. Oh, no, sorry, Crazy MS and at Bowser Bar, but he isn't going to be able to stop Dan. N64 Master getting a nice little kick there. Ooh. Oh, Eclipse just missing on the adjust. Oh. It was looking good, but they're going to be able to get the rebound again. Bowser Bar knocking it up into that backboard. Nobody's going to be there to follow up with it, but Eclipse was so close.
Goodness, so close is the best way to describe what's been happening. Oh, that was too close from the defense. Dan with a boomer past them, setting himself up off the wall, taking it away from Crazy MS, who might have had a shot. Scorch Blaze was just a little bit off on the timing.
I am loving the clear competition between Crazy MS and Dan right now. They are both gunning for that MVP.
Bowser Bar's just there, just trying to get some goals and make sure they stop fighting, as you mentioned. But it's still close. There is potential for the Panthers to bring this back, only down by 1. 40 seconds on the clock, and almost going in from Crazy MS.
Yeah, we need to see Eclipse, Scorch Blaze, or N64 just find something. Dan finding another goal there, bringing him to 2 goals this round. And 30 seconds left on the clock.
I'd say Dan pretty much cemented himself to get my vote, at least, for the MVP for the season.
Yeah, but fortunately for us, Crazy MS and Dan don't know that, so we should still see them competing for these goals. With Danga looking like he was going to try and get another one there, but Scorch Blaze was having none of it. Bowser Bar set up kind of nicely, but I don't know if Dan touched it at the same time there to readjust the ball. It looks like it.
It also looked like he was just kind of ball chasing instead. No real reason for him to go for that one, but a great setup from Crazy MS. So
yeah, Dan managing to follow it up. Yeah, but as we discussed, we would say that Dan is the star striker, but Crazy MS has set up so many of his goals during this season that it's definitely interesting to watch and just see how they communicate and how they play.
It's a good dynamic between the two, because you always have story duos in a lot of leagues, and we've seen the duo of Dan and Crazy MS kind of come to light in this season. It's been great, and hopefully we'll see it develop even more in the next one, as there's 0 seconds on the clock. No chance for the Panthers to come back from this one, as it will be 4-1 in the final game of this best-of-7 grand finals. The Woodstock Academy Centaurs taking the win and taking that MVP as well. I'm still gonna say Dan probably earned that, getting a hat trick again in this one.
Yeah, 2 hat tricks within the set. I definitely think that Dan has cemented, my opinion at least, my vote for that MVP. And I'd like to congratulate the Centaurs here for taking that championship. They are officially the Season 1 EGFH champions of Rocket League. This is the 2nd series of today, so thank you for tuning in. We're going to get to the Overwatch teams up onto the stage and get ready for the final, so stay tuned for that next match. You can follow us on Official EGF on Twitter and Twitch for updates and announcements. This season, of course, wouldn't be possible without the support of our sponsors, the Yukon Gaming Club, the Yukon School of Engineering, HyperX, and Controller Chaos for making this season possible. Be sure to check out their links below, and of course, typing that / sponsor in the Twitch chat. I have been Cavan Navac Dignan. You can find me on Twitter at Cavan Dignan. And Nick?
I've been Nick Vodible Ambrozic, and you can find me at Vodible on Twitter or at my website, vodible.info. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon for the Overwatch Finals.